So firstly, I think I need to explain what is a clinical trial. So a clinical trial is a trial that involves people or humans. However, there is a lot of work that's done before we even get to a clinical trial stage. So basically it's the work that's done in the laboratory, and we call this, I guess, the bench to bedside. So we're relying on our laboratory scientists to use information that has come back through the patients and through other clinical trials to be involved in the development of new medications or treatments. And when something is looking promising, that's when it will be taken into a clinical trial with humans. Now, clinical trials in humans are divided up into 4 phases. So the first phase of a clinical trial is actually the phase where we have relatively small patients that are involved in the clinical trial, and there may be patients with different kinds of tumours. And in this type of study, we're actually looking to see whether the drug is safe in patients, because it'll be the first time that the drug has been tested in patients, and we're looking to see what kind of dose we can use. If that phase is successful, the patients or the trial will then move into a phase 2 clinical trial, which is often a bigger clinical trial and may often involve a specific tumour stream. So it might be colon cancer, because we've seen some indicators that that particular treatment works better in patients with colon cancer. And in this particular clinical trial, we're looking to see how effective the drug is. So not just whether it's safe and what the dose is, but we're looking to see whether it's truly effective. If we get some positive signals from a phase 2 clinical trial, we then move into our much larger phase 3 clinical trials, which may often involve hundreds, sometimes thousands of patients, may often be in collaboration with many different parts of the world, so researchers in many different parts of the world. And these are the studies that actually lead to the practice-changing treatments. These very large clinical trials are required before a drug usually required before a drug can be registered by the authorities in various countries. So this, as you can see, this is a very long process. So it takes a long time for drugs to get from the bench side to the bedside. And that process does vary, but it can take many years, 8, 10 years. There are processes in place to try and make this process more rapid. So we are looking at the way that our clinical trials are run, the outcomes of our clinical trials, hoping that we can deliver the results from the clinical trials more efficiently so that we can get these very important treatments to the patients much more quickly. So this is, I guess, summarises the process of clinical research. And as I mentioned, we start with the basic research. This is the laboratory research, and then we translate that information that we learn in the laboratory into our clinical research, which goes through those various phases that I've just discussed. And then once we have that information from our clinical research, we translate that knowledge into clinical practice, so to improve outcomes for our cancer patients. And then the information that we collect in clinics and through registries and all that sort of stuff, we can then feed back to our basic researchers, because questions will come up. For example, we might be using a new treatment and there are some side effects and we're looking to see how they are managed. We might feed that back to our basic researchers and say, here, this would be a good idea for a clinical trial. Can you help us in the laboratory? So they're all interrelated.